The Volkswagen Atlas has seating for up to 7 and the power to tow up to 5,000 pounds. Now, you just need a bigger boat. Finance the Atlas from just 0.99% for 60 months during the Volks Summer event. Visit your VW dealer before July 31st.
Volkswagen.
This is Encore. The stories behind the songs.
Thank you.
Here's iHeartRadio's Miles Galloway.
Rainbow butt monkeys. Yes, rainbow butt monkeys. Nope, you didn't just catch me doing my vocal warm-ups and our editor forgot to cut this part out. And no, I haven't been partaking in some pre-podcast psychedelics. Rainbow Butt Monkeys happens to be the name of one of Canada's preeminent rock bands of the 2000s. Okay, I'm bending the truth just a little bit. It's only the former name of one of Canada's preeminent rock bands of the 2000s. You may be more familiar with them by their multiplatinum name, Finger 11. Yes, the hard-rocking five-piece from Burlington, Ontario, spent a resounding 6 years under the Rainbow Butt Monkeys moniker in the 90s, before giving themselves an edgier rebrand as Finger 11, and riding the waves of early 2000s new metal, post-grunge, and alt-rock. A stalwart on radio stations from coast to coast in this country to this very day, Finger 11 were certainly no strangers to success in the late 2000s. But as the band told me earlier this month, something strange happened on one fateful day in 2006 that would give the band a level of success they perhaps never expected. I'm Miles Galloway, and this is the story of Finger 11's Paralyzer. Forming all the way back in 1990, Rainbow Butt Monkeys started out as a high school band and gained regional exposure by winning the HTZ-FM Rock Search competition. The band was eventually offered a deal by major label Mercury Records and released the high-energy pop-funk metal album Letters from Chutney in 1995. Letters from Chutney was well-reviewed, received modest airplay on Canadian radio, and even some video exposure on Much. Unsurprisingly, the band eventually felt that name was probably a little bit too silly to be taken seriously as a heavy rock band, as the genre as a whole was leaning into a more aggressive sound. So by 1997, Finger 11 was born. Here are the guys talking to Suk Yin Lee from Much way back when.
I think when we got into the bulk of making this record, we sat and we realized that everything about this album was something that we would go to the wall for, except for the name Rainbow Butt Monkeys was something, we weren't 100% sure of. And we wanted to be, entirely focused on everything about the band. And if you can't even say the name without feeling a little bit embarrassed or something.
Oh, were you embarrassed with the name Rainbow Butt Monkeys? Were you the butt of many jokes?
I think it was just hard to take serious.
Oh,
I think sometimes the music got written out before they even heard it, because of the name.
They figured you were like a joke band or something like that?
Yeah.
Finger 11's first record, Tip, was definitely a departure from the Butt Monkeys sound, but then again, they weren't the Butt Monkeys anymore. For one reason or another, Tip was more of a shift for Mercury Records, and even though they would release the album, Finger 11 were dropped from the label within 6 weeks. Luckily for Finger 11, an upstart record label called Wind Up Records had been looking for new talent to add to their roster after hitting it big with post-grunge darlings Creed. The band was snatched up and sent on tour with Creed and Fuel in '98, and American radio began to take notice. In a pattern that would become abundantly clear over the decades to follow, when one door closed for Finger 11, a bigger one opened in a way that they least expected. Here's Scott and James from the band again talking about their big move in 1998.
The big argument was that they could never get this on the radio. And, we made the album we wanted, and we don't know anything about radio. We just made the album we knew it was what we wanted, and I think American radio versus Canadian radio, there's differences there as well. So I don't know if they had total conviction in it though. They heard it and they didn't like it, so they're obviously not going to work it hard. But we found a company that loved it as much as we did.
With Tip in the hands of a label that believed in the record, it was re-released on Wind Up and became a bit of a sleeper hit south of the border, gaining critical acclaim and, according to the label, selling more than 100,000 copies across North America. It was a no-brainer then for Wind Up Records to release Finger Eleven's second album, The Greyest of Blue Skies, in the year 2000. A CanCon classic that included the hits First Time and Drag You Down, which would see them solidify themselves as true radio staples in this country and earned them 2 major Juno nominations for Rock Album of the Year and Rock Song of the Year. While success of the album in America didn't quite mirror the success domestically, the band were not without their big wins in that era. Finger Eleven were now able to tour steadily and appear at big rock festivals across Canada and the US, playing with the likes of Creed, Disturbed, Our Lady Peace, and other familiar faces of the early aughts rock scene. It was around that time Finger Eleven powerbombed themselves into the world of sports entertainment, or should I say chokeslammed, providing the official version of WWE wrestler Kane's entrance theme, Slow Chemical, from 2002 to 2008. Kane was a big-time talent for the WWE during that era, performing to huge audiences worldwide, all while being soundtracked by the boys from Burlington as he maniacally sauntered down to the ring.
The following contest is a lumberjack match, and it is scheduled for one fall. Introducing first, weighing in at 320 pounds, Kane!
He is a psychotic monster that is hard to hurt, and that's an understatement. Will he be the next heavyweight champion of the world?
You know, JR, it's going to be a little bit different kind of lumberjack match. I'll tell you about it in just a second.
Okay then. The guys also snuck a B-side onto one of the most talked about soundtracks of the 2000s, the infamous Daredevil soundtrack that introduced the world to Evanescence's Bring Me to Life, which sold no less than 500,000 copies in the States. For more on that song, you know what to do by now. It's in our Encore archives. By 2003, Finger Eleven had truly found their footing in heavy music. Whether you saw them as metal, hard rock, post-grunge, or alternative, one thing's for sure. They were going to turn it up to 11 and rock. Actually, sorry, that was a very poor turn of phrase, because One Thing, the second single off their self-titled third album, was a massive departure from anything they'd released before. Soft acoustic guitars, sweetly sung melodies, and never too far away from the earwormy anthemic hook, One Thing introduced Finger Eleven to a whole new audience, a pop audience. It would take them a little more than a year after the album dropped, with a more standard-sounding single, Good Times, being released first, but Finger Eleven cracked the Billboard Hot 100 in summer 2004 with One Thing, remaining on the charts for a respectable 29 weeks and peaking at number 16. I don't know what it is with Canadian artists and huge pop hits. I feel like I was just saying this about Avril Lavigne and her hit Girlfriend in a previous episode of Encore this season. But as lead singer Scott Anderson told Much in 2003, he may have been a little drunk while recording One Thing.
I never drank when I sang, but when we were doing One Thing, Johnny suggested that I get drunk because it wasn't really a hard song to sing, and it was just like fun, and I knew it, and it was just like a matter of me sitting on a stool and just kind of feeling the song. So we just kept feeding me beer, and I, towards a couple hours into it, I really didn't know what was going on. I would just sing, and he'd be like, "All right, cool, you know, how'd you like that?" I was like, "Yeah, man, that's cool, that's really cool. Are we gonna keep going?" So, and that was the end of the night. I sang for a couple hours until he was happy with it.
So you have it on the record.
It's on the record, yeah.
Drunken idiot.
Singing One Thing.
Yep.
The unprecedented success of One Thing led Finger Eleven to their first ever gold-selling record in America, and their first platinum seller back home. The band would miss out on a Juno win for the song, but the writing was on the wall. Finger Eleven were a bankable and versatile Canadian export worldwide. Not to diminish anything that had come before One Thing, but with a top 20 Billboard hit under their belt and the digital age of music starting to transform into the industry as we know it today, the pressure was well and truly on Finger Eleven to knock it out of the park with whatever came next. Speaking with Much's Sarah Taylor shortly before album number 4's release, Finger Eleven explained what they were hoping to accomplish with their biggest album ever.
When somebody writes a song, you feel like you know exactly how they feel, but you really have no clue. But that's how cool music can be. So if I can get that close to someone I hardly know, for them to sort of feel close to the music, that would be great.
this record has moments of that where, hopefully that opportunity arises in somebody.
Look, the only question that really matters is the album going to make Big Shiny Tunes 2008?
I don't know. I mean, you never know. It's not like the most... Yes. You think it is?
I think it will.
We're way too close to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. You come out of the studio and you either feel like you wasted a whole bunch of time and you almost got it, and you sort of just, you cut your losses. But, we took the long way around. We took a long time. We obsessed over the songs. And, over all the arguments, the music survived. So, I mean, that's what's important.
Can't wait to hear it. Thank you.
Yes, with the album officially announced and titled Them Versus You Versus Me, Finger 11 started off hot by dropping Paralyzer on March 1st, 2007. Originally debuting at number 97 on the Billboard Hot 100, Paralyzer took the better part of 6 months to climb its way into our hearts and into the top 10 of the Billboard ranks. Then by January 2008, it reached its all-time peak at number 6. Unlike One Thing, the song was still a heavy rock song at its core, but the guitars could have easily been EDM synth lines in another life. The drums hit a thumping groove, and the hook was as catchy as any pop song on the radio. And its US chart and commercial performance reflected as much. Needless to say, the song was just as much of a hit back home, popping up in the top 10 of the Canadian Hot 100, Top 40, and Hot AC charts, along with becoming their first rock number 1 in this country. Oh, and for the record, the guys didn't need to wait for Big Shiny Tunes in 2008. Paralyzer introduced the 2007 version of the iconic Much compilation. Described by critics predominantly as dance rock or funk rock, Paralyzer was a tongue-in-cheek, relatable indictment on club culture, a manifestation of feelings around being at the club and not really knowing what to do with yourself. Speaking with PopEntertainment.com, drummer Rich Beddoe distilled the song's lyrical vibe as such. We've never felt comfortable in dance clubs. Sometimes you end up at them on the road or with friends at home. You're always the guy in the corner that feels awkward and just drinks too much and then says something stupid and goes home. We were all coming from that place, so when Scott wrote that song, it was like, oh man, it's so cool that finally that's being said. It really defined what we've all gone through. Obviously, there is a big difference between a pub and a club. We belong in a dirty little bar in the corner drinking. That's our place, where we feel comfortable. A bunch of laser lights and girls dancing to Lil Wayne, we're screwed. But what of the song's origins? How did this band, who only a decade earlier were being dropped by their label for ostensibly thinking too much outside of the box and would never be played on the radio, write one of the most iconic rock songs of the 2000s? Did they sell out, go big, hire Max Martin and a team of pop writers? Well, no. Much like with all their music, from the Rainbow Butt Monkeys days and beyond, they wrote the song together. And as far as inspiration goes, it's a much less Hollywood story than you might think. I sat down with vocalist Scott Anderson and guitarist James Black exclusively for Encore to take a trip down memory lane and find out exactly how Finger 11's biggest song ever came to be.
So obviously, one of the first songs that I went to listen to on the Greatest Hits album was Paralyzer, like many people. What can you tell me about what can you remember about making that song and how it came to be?
This is a good one. This is so we had a friend, his name was Chris, and he was taking a photography class, and he was looking for a subject to take pictures of. So we're like, oh, well, I don't know, Tuesday, we're jamming. Why don't you come and take pictures? So we showed up and we were jamming for a bit, and it was just not going good. We're like, a rare occasion where we just kind of pulled the plug and we're like, we kind of suck today. Let's just get out of here. So we packed all the gear up and we packed the car. And as we were about to leave, our buddy Chris came. He was like, where are you guys going? I thought we were going to do some pictures. So we're like, oh, shit. Okay. So we unpacked the car, we set up all the gear again, and we're posing for the pictures. And we were like, let's just make something so it's not so fake. And we made the Paralyzer music just for something to do in the pictures. And then just as we were about to leave, we're like, should we just record it quick and we'll give it to Scott just because we did it, so we might as well. And then it was very soon after Scott was like...
Right. I mean, in true lead singer fashion, I missed the rehearsal. and these guys came up with the music and they sent it to me, and I was like, okay, there's some sort of like disco rock thing happening. I feel like I this is taking me to a place where I'm not cool enough to be. That's what it feels like. It feels like, oh wow, I'm at a club and I can't wait to leave. And so I just cheekily kind of wrote lyrics to that, and it did not take long. I think it took an afternoon to sort of pull it off, and it's so frustrating where it's like, I don't know why I can't do it again, but it was just like lightning in a bottle. I was like, okay, I'll just be ridiculous and sing like I don't belong in this great place, and that song has been really good to us ever since.
The weird and wonderful music video for Paralyzer, which I interpret as a story of a misfit hipster businessman dance walking down an abandoned street only to find his business attire wearing muse doing the same dance moves. The two dance down the street in a sort of enigmatic Fatboy Slim's Weapon of Choice meets Justin Timberlake's Sexy Back dance-off as hundreds of business dancers replicate around them, and the band plays the song from the rooftop above. It's a bit nonsensical, sure, but it definitely fits the fish out of water aesthetic the band found themselves in real life. I asked James and Scott about the video as well.
What can you tell me about the music video? What do you remember about filming the video for it?
Well, that was like the backlot of Paramount. Like, that was the most big deal that we ever were. Like, this was like a Hollywood studio and a team of choreographers and a team of burlesque dancers that had learned all the moves, and like, yeah, it was just a thrill. It was like a real Hollywood experience that was revolved around us and our songs. It was a big trip.
Yeah, it was. Any of those big productions, you always feel like you're in the way, But I was like, all right, I'm just going to do my thing. I see a microphone and I'm going to sing and I'm going to perform the best way I know how, and then just sort of stand and look around at all this other stuff happening. It was that was definitely a whirlwind moment in Finger 11 history. We toured a lot. We did a lot of videos, and I don't know if we saw home for longer than like a week or two at a time, and then it was off to do another tour. So
that video too was like we were talking about an idea one night with the owner of the label, and then he sort of like the next day kind of restated it as I remember your idea about the thing, and it was like, that wasn't really what we were talking about, but let's do that. And so the video kind of came out of a bit of a misunderstanding about a dance move thing, but it just got better before our eyes. Like, yeah.
Because
so
no one
cool.
really, you don't really practice for those moments in between the music, making the music. You do so many rehearsals and recording, but then when it comes to stuff like the promo, the music video, you're just there, and it's like, wow, this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good opportunity. Like, for myself, I like to, like a lot of the visual art stuff I've been a part of for the band. So it's another angle to kind of, instead of just being on the sidelines, be like, this is kind of what we're about. So how do we make it make sense to us and our music? So
yeah,
that was one of those synergistic moments that was like, yes, it's happening.
The success of Paralyzer propelled Finger 11 and Them Versus You Versus Me to a Juno Award win for Rock Album of the Year in 2008. But despite going multi-platinum in the States and Canada, Paralyzer missed out the Best Video and Best Rock Video prizes at the 2007 MMVAs. Fellow GTA rock heroes Billy Talent beat them to the punch both times that year for their video for Fallen Leaves. Speaking of the MMVAs, though, Finger 11 became the first band ever to play the awards show from high above the Much stage, playing Paralyzer on the rooftop of the famous 299 Queen Street West compound, complete with pyro that would make Kane proud, and a bird's-eye view helicopter camera shot of the whole thing. Which, by the way, is no mean feat. Every time I go up to the roof of 299, light off some fireworks and start singing, I'm met with a noise complaint and a security escort off the premises. And I work here! Them Versus You Versus Me would spawn two more hit singles, Falling On, which would hit number 1 in the Canadian rock charts, and I'll Keep Your Memory Vague, which would peak at number 5. The group's follow-up albums, Life Turns Electric and Five Crooked Lines, would continue Finger 11's run of domestic top 10 rock hits throughout the 2010s. And they would go to number 1 again on the Canadian rock chart with a new song, Together Right, off their Greatest Hits album, released in 2023. As I'm recording this, we're just days away from Finger 11 partying like it's 1999 all over again, as they join one-time label mates Creed on their sold-out Summer of 99 tour stop at the Budweiser stage in Toronto. But that's not all. They're set to return to Toronto's Scotiabank Arena in November, again with Creed, to complete their full circle moment with the band who gave them an opening spot on their tours more than 25 years ago. And we may not have to wait much longer for new Finger 11 music, with a new single dropping less than 24 hours after the release of this episode of Encore. I'll link to our full chat on our sister podcast, The Filter, in the show notes for this episode, where Scott, James, and I get a bit nostalgic and talk about all things Finger 11, past, present, and future. And of course, if you're so inclined, you should give us a subscribe over there as well. If you don't, I might have to stick the big red machine cane on you. I'm Miles Galloway, and that was the story of Finger 11's Paralyzer on Encore, with new episodes every Thursday.
Encore is an iHeartRadio Canada podcast. Subscribe to this podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. Download the iHeartRadio app for more great podcasts just like these.
Hey, what's going on? This is Scott from Finger 11, and this is Paralyzer on Encore.
Love it. Perfect.
I love it. Hey, what's going on?
Just injecting a little fireside element to it. That's all.
Love how it really totally matched the vibe of the song.
Yeah, I know.
Wicked. That's great. Thank you so much.